If you've just gotten into record collecting and now you're looking for some great albums to play on your new turntable, today I'm going to show you the best and most beautiful records in my collection that I absolutely love. I found these gems over the course of many years and from many different places, including record shops, online retailers, and in a few rare cases, some were actually given to me as a gift from some really cool people. So kick back, relax, grab a cup of coffee or a tea, and join us for this slightly longer video where I'll show you the records that I love. Alright, so right off the bat, let's kick things off with Xray. It wouldn't be a Vinyl Eyezz video without at least one mention of Xray. So this is her album Love Deluxe, and it holds a special place in my heart because it was the first record I ever bought. So I figured we should talk about it first. So, general overview, Xray is an English musician. As I said, this is her album Love Deluxe. It came out in 1992. It's her fourth studio album. It has 9 tracks, a 45-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Kiss of Life, Like a Tattoo, and Feel No Pain. Those are all fantastic. Now, to state the obvious, if you've never heard her before, Xray's voice is incredible. The first time I ever heard her was actually when they were playing one of her songs on the radio, and I happened to be listening as I was out driving around. And basically, I was just captivated. Her voice was unlike anything else I had ever heard, and it was very smooth and alluring, kind of like honey to the ears. And I'm pretty sure they were playing one of the songs off this album, and so then that made me want to go out and pick it up. So I bought this album off Amazon many moons ago, and I've played it countless times ever since. I freaking love this album, and this pressing in particular by Music on Vinyl sounds excellent. So overall, her and her band are amazing, and if you pick this record up, you're going to fall in love with her voice and her music, just like I did all those years ago. Also, quick side note, I'm putting the links to all of the records we're going to talk about today in the video description down below if you want to check them out for yourself. Now, moving on, we have a special release from the band Ghostly Kisses. So this is a Canadian band led by French-Canadian singer-songwriter Margot Sauvé. The record is called Acoustic Collection. It came out last year in 2023. It's her third record release overall that came out in between her other albums, Heaven Wait and Darkroom. It has 12 tracks, about a 35-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Touch Acoustic, The City Holds My Heart Acoustic, and Such Words Acoustic. So this is a recent addition to my collection, but already one of my absolute favorite records. It's so heartfelt and touching and beautiful and deep that it's just going to blow you away. Especially if you're not afraid of exploring your own feelings, because there's plenty of raw emotion on this record. The combination of piano and Margot Sauvé's soft and serene voice is so moving and intimate that the music feels almost too real, which I think is a great thing. Art is meant to move us, and it's meant to reach down deep into our heart and make us feel something. So this record definitely does that. Now, as a side note, as of the making of this video, and from what I've seen online, this record is only available on vinyl, not cassette, CD, or even digital, which is really interesting. So yet again, that's another bonus of owning a record player. You can play exclusive stuff like this. Now, the last thing I'll say here is that normally Ghostly Kisses makes ethereal dream pop music using synthesizers and lots of other modern digital sounding plugins and effects and stuff like that, just like every band does nowadays. But that being said, every once in a while, they'll release a stripped down acoustic version of a song or EP and basically just use piano and Margot's voice. And those are the songs I think are really special. So overall, this record is a compilation of only those songs, and it's simply brilliant. Now, one thing before we move on, I'm going to be doing another Q&A video soon, so if you have any record player / records / music related questions, post them in the comments and I'll answer them in an upcoming video. Alright, on to the next record. So next up we have a classic album from The Cure. So The Cure is another band from England, and this is their most well-known record, Disintegration. It originally came out in 1989. It's their 8th studio album. It has 12 tracks, a 1 hour and 12-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Love Song, Pictures of You, and Prayers for Rain. Now, if you've only heard of The Cure but haven't listened to any of their albums, this is the perfect one to start with, because it's their best album. And I've said this before, but I'll say it here again, The Cure makes sadness sound cool. And I know that might sound weird, but it's the truth. And especially so on this particular album. It's just the perfect blend of melancholy, love, sadness, and late 80s rock. It's a glorious combination. Also, this double LP gatefold of the album was one of the first 20 or so records that I bought back in the day at the original location of Amoeba Music in Hollywood. And the sound quality of this pressing from 2010 is amazing. Basically, whenever I was at the shop and I saw this sitting there in the rock music section crate, I just knew that I had to have it. And I don't regret that decision one bit. So overall, if you love 80s rock, then you're gonna love this record as well. Alright, so far we've visited Canada and the UK, but now we're heading east over to Norway for a band that's based out of Bergen, Kings of Convenience. And side note, speaking of Bergen, that's around the same neck of the woods that the musician Aurora is based out of as well. So, seems like a very creative area. But anyways, getting back to Kings of Convenience and this album, it's called Quiet is the New Loud. It came out in 2001. It's their first ever studio album. It has 12 tracks, a 45-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Summer on the West Hill, The Weight of My Words, and I Don't Know What I Can Save You From. So the overall sound of this record is acoustic, harmonious heaven. In the past, I've compared these guys to like a modern Simon and Garfunkel because they harmonize so well, it's insane. Now, as I said, this is their first album, and right out the gate, it's so relaxing and peaceful to listen to. I mean, all of their albums are great, but there's just something about this album that really calls to me. And that's why over the years, I just keep playing it and I keep coming back to it. It's amazing. Now, fun story, years back, whenever I was considering buying this album, along with their second release, Riot on an Empty Street, they hadn't pressed the records in several years, and so the prices were like $250 for each record. And being that I didn't want to spend that, I waited a few months, and then, miraculously, they repressed them on 180-gram vinyl for only 25 bucks each. And then I jumped on those and bought them. So moral of the story here, a little patience goes a long way. Alright, so next up we have a gorgeous record from Tool. But before we get to that, just want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by me. So if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button right down there. It really helps me out in the algorithm. Alright, so Tool is our first American band. And this is their album Lateralis on 2 picture disc vinyl records. So the album came out in 2001. It's their 3rd studio album. It has 13 tracks, a 1 hour and 17-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are the title track, Lateralis, Schism, and Parabola. Now normally I don't like picture discs because the sound quality can be kind of scratchy and grainy, but with this one I'll make an exception because the artwork is beautiful and the prog rock music is transcendent, spiritual, and phenomenal. If you've never heard Tool before, this is the album to start with because it really gets you pumped up. It's electrifying, heavy, creative, hypnotic rock music. Overall, I love this record. I've talked about it a lot over the years, and if you pick it up, you're going to love it as well. Also, if you want to learn about Tool's other great albums, then feel free to watch this video right up here. Alright, next up we have Linkin Park's classic album, Hybrid Theory. So this one came out in the year 2000. It's Linkin Park's first studio album. It has 12 tracks, a 37-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Crawling, One Step Closer, Runaway, and In the End. Now this album comes straight from my childhood. Only back then, I picked it up on CD. And although I played the heck out of that CD, and I still have it around here somewhere, I'm glad that now I also have it on vinyl, so I can appreciate both the music and the beautiful artwork on a much larger canvas. Let's face it, album jackets and records are just nice to look at, and even if you don't have a turntable, you can always just take it out and appreciate that artwork. So overall, this is definitely a nostalgic album for me to listen to because basically, I was in middle school when this came out, and it just seems like the music we listen to when we're young is the music that we remember most fondly. Also, I got this record from a shop that doesn't even exist anymore, Backside Records in downtown Burbank, California. That also makes me a little nostalgic for this record as well, because that was a cool little shop. Now, speaking of Linkin Park, recently it seems like they're kind of making a comeback because now they've got a new vocalist, Emily Armstrong, and although I'm happy for them, I just want to take a moment here to say rest in peace to the OG vocalist, Chester Bennington. You will always be remembered as one of the greatest rock music vocalists in history. Alright, next up we have a record from Jose Gonzalez, who's a Swedish musician from Gothenburg whose parents are originally from Argentina. So this is his album, Veneer. It came out in 2003. It's his first album. It has 11 tracks, a 30-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Broken Arrows and Heartbeats. And Heartbeats is actually a cover song that was originally written by a different Swedish band called The Knife. So similar to Kings of Convenience, this music is also based around acoustic guitar. However, the vocals are just him. So he's not harmonizing with anyone other than himself. Basically, this music is even simpler than Kings of Convenience. And similar to the Ghostly Kisses record we talked about earlier, this album also feels very sincere, very intimate, and very stripped down to its basics. Essentially, it's just Jose and his guitar, and I think there's a real beauty in that simplicity. Also, with the exception of that cover song, Heartbeats, which is phenomenal, all the other songs on the record were written by Jose as well. So overall, one dude writing and performing all of the music himself. So that's pretty cool. You just gotta respect an artist that carves out their own creative path like that. So basically, if you love acoustic guitar and soft vocals, you're gonna love this record. Alright, next up we have a record from another English band called Portishead. So this is their album Dummy. It came out in 1994. It's their first album. It has 11 tracks, a 49-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Mr. On's, Glory Box, and Roads. So this record is jazzy, mysterious, trip-hop at its finest. For some reason, I love listening to this one late at night. I guess it's because it's just got this stylish, vintage, creative, cool music tone to it that's just conducive to late night thinking. Basically, it's a vibe, and trying to explain all the intricacies of that vibe becomes difficult. It's almost like The Matrix. You can't be told what it is, you just have to experience it for yourself. But essentially, if you like bands like more Chiba, Massive Attack, Moby, and really just good alternative music in general, then you're going to love this band as well. They've released 2 other albums that I know of, but since I haven't heard those yet, I can't really comment on them. But one thing I know for sure is that this record is amazing. I guess I'm just a sucker for great vocals, and on this album, Beth Gibbons' voice is incredible, fragile, and hauntingly beautiful. So overall, you just gotta pick this one up as well. Alright, next up we have a record from Iron and Wine. So this is their album, Our Endless Numbered Days. It came out in 2004. It's their second album. It has 12 tracks, a 44-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Naked as We Came, Cinder and Smoke, and Sodom, South Georgia. So this one is probably my most soothing record. It's very relaxing, comforting, peaceful, chill, southern, folksy kind of music. This album feels like being covered in a warm wool blanket outside near a bonfire as you drink hot chocolate that has a bunch of those little tiny marshmallows on top. Basically, if you've had a stressful, anxious day and you're really stressed out, if you come home and put this record on, all of that stress will just melt away. This is music for the soul, letting you know that everything is going to be okay. I love this record, and it's definitely another one you're going to want to check out. Alright, next up we have a record from Agnes Oble, who's a Danish singer, songwriter, and musician who's now based in Berlin, Germany. So this record is particularly unique because it's a double LP gatefold of 2 of her albums, Philharmonics and Aventine. So this gatefold was released in 2014, but before that, her album Philharmonics was released in 2010, and Aventine came out in 2013. These are her first and second albums, respectively. Philharmonics has 12 tracks, Aventine has 11. The total runtime, if you listen to both of them back to back, is about an hour and 20 minutes, and my favorite songs on them are Riverside, The Curse, Just So, and Wallflower. So whenever I was considering buying this, I realized that the record for Philharmonics was like 20 bucks, and the record for Aventine was also 20 bucks. But this record was only 25 bucks. It had both of them, and even included the albums on 2 CDs as well. So it was a great value, and I'm so glad that I jumped on it, because now, apparently, this has become kind of rare. So the price has jumped quite a bit, which was news to me. But getting back to the music, how does it actually sound? Well, in one word, outstanding. If you love classical orchestral instruments like piano, cello, violin, viola, double bass, and other stuff like that, then you're gonna love these records. It's like a new spin on modern, alternative, playful classical music, and it's really great. And the one song I highly recommend you listen to is Riverside. Check that one out, and it's gonna blow you away. You're welcome. Alright, next up we have a spectacular record from Boren und der Club of Gore, which is a German band that plays dark jazz noir kind of music. So we'll talk about what that actually means in a second, but first, the album. So this is Sunset Mission, probably their most well-known album. It came out in the year 2000. It's their third album. It has 9 tracks, a 1 hour and 13-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Midnight Walker, On Demon Wings, and Black City Skyline. So what exactly is dark jazz noir? Well, picture the soundtrack to a 1930s black and white slow burn crime detective mystery noir type of movie. That is what this music sounds like. It's slow tempo, melancholy jazz music that incorporates sounds of rain and thunder, strings, and even saxophone, and it blends it all together perfectly to create a dark, brooding, contemplative, instrumental atmosphere. It's great, and it's so original that it doesn't sound like anything else out there. If you want music to just think and chill, this is the record for you. So technically, this is our first ambient record on our list because there's no lyrics on this album. But even without words, it says so much and is incredibly deep. So overall, if you love good late night thinking music, definitely check this one out. Okay, last Sade thing, I promise. But overall, this release is just too cool not to talk about. So this is her vinyl record box set titled This Far, and it's named that because it contains all 6 albums that she's released up till now, and also hints that there might even be a new album coming soon. So the box set came out in 2020 and contains her studio albums Love Deluxe, Diamond Life, Lover's Rock, Soldier of Love, Promise, and Stronger Than Pride on 180-gram vinyl that were all half-speed mastered at Abbey Road Studios. Total number of tracks? A lot. Total runtime? A long time. And finally, my favorite songs on these albums? Basically all of them. Now, I pre-ordered this off Amazon back in 2020 after many of y'all reached out to me and gave me a heads up that she was, in fact, releasing this box set, so thank y'all for letting me know. So yeah, overall, it's just nice to have all of her releases in one place. However, do keep in mind that with this box set, there's no digital download cards, no CDs, no bonus disc with deep cuts or remixes or other rarities. It's just the 6 records. But overall, since I'm a Sade fan, I had to pick it up, and I just had to mention it in this video. Okay, now I'm done talking about Sade. Alright, next up we have a record from Elena Tonra, and this is her side project called Xray. So Elena Tonra is a singer, songwriter, and guitarist from London, England. So yet again, we have another band from the UK, and although she's most known for her first band, Daughter, which has had a lot of success over the years, this band is her newest solo venture. So this self-titled album is pronounced Xray, not to be confused with Ray Gun, which is an entirely different thing. So the record came out in 2018, has 10 tracks, a 48-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are New York, Too Sad, Romance, and The Dazzler. Now, although this is her first and only album under this name, she also recorded the exact same songs with an orchestra a few years ago. But essentially, since it's the same album, I don't count it as album 2. Plus, I love this recording more. So there's that. Overall, this record is a good mix of alternative, deep, emotionally moving, tender, rock, and electronic music. Elena wrote this album after a breakup, and just like many of the records we've talked about today, this one is also hauntingly beautiful. So check it out, and you will not be disappointed. Alright, next up we have the last box set that we're going to talk about today. This is the Vinyl Collection by the Carpenters. So this box set came out in 2017 and contains all of their studio albums, aside from their 2 Christmas releases. So overall, 12 albums in total that have all been remastered and pressed on 180-gram vinyl. These include Ticket to Ride, Close to You, Carpenters, A Song for You, Now and Then, Horizon, A Kind of Hush, Passage, Made in America, Voice of the Heart, Love Lines, and the singles 1969 through 1973. My favorite songs on these albums are We've Only Just Begun, Close to You, Desperado, Top of the World, and Solitaire. Now, if you love the Carpenters and you want to complete pretty much their entire discography, this one box set will do the trick. So I got this a while back from a viewer on the channel, Rod. Thank you so much, dude. And it's just an amazing release. Probably my favorite box set after Sade. Overall, Karen Carpenter's angelic voice was sent straight from the heavens above, and it dwelt among us mere mortals down here on Earth for a period of time, and then, unfortunately, and all too soon, went back to her celestial abode. But thankfully, we have all this great music that she left behind for us that we can play and put it on the turntable whenever we want. Essentially, Karen Carpenter will always be remembered as one of the greatest singers who ever lived. Alright, now these last records I'm going to talk about, I have a personal connection to, starting with this one. So this is the album A Blessed Unrest by the Parlor Trick, and they're a smaller indie band composed of Meredith Yayanos and Dan Cantrell. So this is their first album. It came out in 2012. It has 9 tracks, a 55-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are Mare Desiderai and Planchette. Now, the type of music on this record, as stated on their Bandcamp page, is, quote, haunted chamber music for uneasy listening, unquote. So basically, this album feels as if you've been transported to a Victorian-era haunted mansion and you're wandering the halls and hearing all kinds of spooky stuff like ghostly voices and distant apparitions, as well as antique grand pianos and eerie music on old wax cylinders. It's a really unique album that's perfect for playing around Halloween time, actually, and I can honestly say that I've never heard anything like it before or since. So long story short, I made a video talking about the album pressed on red vinyl, and Meredith from the band sent me this really awesome exclusive pressing of it on black and gold vinyl as a thank you. So she's really cool, her band is really cool, and support indie music and check them out. Alright, now this one I call the Golden Space Record because there's an interesting story behind it, and it's also on gold vinyl. So this is not an album, but rather a special promo record from Third Man Records that was released in 2016. It only has one 3-minute song on the entire 12-inch record, and there's no B-side. So the song was produced by John Boswell, aka Melody Sheep or Symphony of Science here on YouTube, and it's called Carl Sagan, A Glorious Dawn. But the interesting thing here is actually not the song itself, but the reason surrounding why this record was pressed in the first place. So the too long didn't read version of the story is that in 2016, to celebrate the 7-year anniversary of his record label, Jack White and his team of talented folks launched a special turntable and gold-plated vinyl record into near space on a weather balloon, and they were the first people to ever play a record in the stratosphere, aka 18 miles or 29 kilometers straight up. So it was really cool. I made a video all about it, which you can watch right up here. And after I made that video, David Jankowski, the founder and CEO of SADINS, Students and Teachers in Near Space, whose company was directly involved with helping Jack White pull off this amazing feat, mailed me this 12-inch vinyl record promo, which was pressed to commemorate that historic event. So I would say that this record is the closest to my heart. It's a piece of history, it's my most prized possession, and also the music, which is about space and mankind's future, is also really good. Now, speaking of Third Man Records, we finally have our last record of the day from Jack White. So this is his album Lazaretto. It came out in 2014, and although he's made lots of other albums under his other bands like The White Stripes, The Dead Weather, and The Raconteurs, this particular release is his second solo album. It has 11 tracks, a 39-minute runtime, and my favorite songs on it are the title track, Lazaretto, and that Black Bat Licorice. So this is the record that made me fall in love with record collecting, because this album has so many features that are only available on the Ultra LP vinyl release. For example, most of the music plays at the standard 33 RPM, but there's also 2 hidden tracks under the record labels on both sides. One plays at 45 RPM and the other plays at 78 RPM. So essentially, this is a 3-speed record. Also, side A plays from the inside out, side B plays from the outside in. The song Just One Drink has dual grooves that run parallel to each other, so depending on where you drop the needle, you'll get either the electric or the acoustic intro, and then the grooves meet to finish out the rest of the song. Side A has a glossy finish, side B has a matte finish. Both sides end in locked grooves that will play an audio cue on repeat until you go over and stop it and flip the record. The vinyl is also pressed in a rarely used flat-edged format and is also 180 grams to prevent warps. Zero compression was used during the recording, mixing, and mastering of the record. And finally, coolest of all, there's a floating angel hologram in the dead wax area of side A. At the time, that had never been done before. So overall, an amazing record. And like I said, if you want to check out any of the records we've talked about in today's video, the links are in the video description down below. And speaking of that, if you've bought any cool records lately and you're looking for some quality vinyl record cleaning products to keep everything nice and shiny and sounding great, then feel free to check out the cleaning products that I've also included in the video description down below as well. Alright, now before we go, today's song of the day is Miss Jackson by Outkast. What a classic. And if you have a suggestion for a song of the day as well, post in the comments down below and you might see it in a future video. Now, what are your favorite records? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you love collecting records as much as I do, then feel free to subscribe and hit that little bell notification right down there so you won't miss out on the new videos. And most importantly of all, have a fantastic day, stay safe, and keep spinning that vinyl.